Hello, my name is Tuppence. I love looking at Pinterest. It gives me all kinds of inspiration. There are so many talented people on there. And I've seen some beautiful pottery pieces that are lighthouses standing on islands, and they are usually within a bowl or on a dish. As I say, this is normally pottery, but I'm going to try and replicate that using resin. I'm going to use this high gloss epoxy resin from JDiction, and it's the perfect time to use this water ripple bowl mould. I've got a couple of blue resin dyes, and I'm going to add some pearlescent powder to that so that I get a nice shimmer to it. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out my resin and get that mixed up. I've mixed up 6 ounces, which is probably more than I'm going to need, but I'm going to add that to 2 cups so that I can make my 2 colours of blue. And I'll leave a little bit in this cup that's clear. Although I want some colour and some shimmer, I do want to keep this pretty transparent. Alright, I'm going to start with this paler blue. This is the sky blue and it's from Let's Resin. I'm going to put quite a bit in there because it's a very pale colour. And when I add that pearlescent powder, that is going to make it paler as well. So get that mixed in. I think I'm going to add a little bit more. All right, that's good. And now I'm going to use this darker blue, and this is from JDiction. Now this is extremely strong. So I'm going to put a very tiny drop on my stick. A little bit more than that. Okay, and look, that is so strong. You really don't need very much of that at all. So get that mixed in. It's a lovely colour. And as I said, I'm going to add some of this pearlescent powder to both of these. And again, I don't want very much of this. I'm not looking to get these opaque. I just want to make them look a little bit shimmery. That's a bit much. Let's try that. A little bit in each cup. All right, I'm going to get that powder mixed in. Beautiful. And this one. Right, now that I've mixed these up, I have introduced some bubbles, so I'm going to let them sit for a little while to degas, and I also want them to warm up. These have been sitting for a little while. I'm just going to give them a quick test. 34, depending on where you hit them, they're anywhere from 34 to 35. So I think they're warm enough. I'm going to start to pour these in, and I've waited for them to warm up so that they don't just mix as I'm pouring them in. So I've sped this up. I am not pouring it in this fast. I am doing it really slowly so that it doesn't spread very much. It's just kind of sitting in a blob in that clear resin. I'm going to do the same on the other side with the lighter blue. And you can see it's kind of pushing that blue out of the way rather than mixing in. Just let that drip for a minute to get the last bits out. Okay, and now I can add this into my bowl. One of the things I most like about this bowl is just how thin the walls are, but it does mean that the mould is quite close together. The gap between the inner walls and the outer wall is really narrow. So I'm just going to squeeze this a little bit to widen that gap at the top and allow this resin to pour down. I'm pouring it really slowly. Again, that's to help it not mix. Okay, you can see it's taking a long time to flow down. Got some bubbles popping out, which is great. I'm just going to give this a couple of seconds so it can settle. I'm gently squeezing that mould to push the air out, but I'm not mixing the colours together. So I won't be squeezing around the bottom. I don't want to cause them to blend any more than they will naturally. Just top that up a little bit. All right, I think we're almost there. Just let that settle again for a second. All right, I think I've got enough in there. I'm going to babysit this and just go around, get any bubbles out. I'm not putting a stick in, I'm just going to gently encourage them to rise up to the surface on their own. This now just needs to cure, but in the meantime, I need to make a lighthouse. I've started by creating a cone out of some kitchen foil. So I've got most of it done. I just want to add another layer on the outside, try and make it as smooth as possible. So I'm pulling this really tight and then rolling that round. Get it as smooth as I can and as tight as I can. Just keep coiling that round. Got a little bit of a lump there, so I'm just going to tear that off. All right, so this is going to be the base of my lighthouse. And I'm going to wrap this with some clay, some polymer clay. And the clay that I am using is the white, it's Super Sculpey, and it's their Ultralight. So you bake this in the oven. Only takes about 15 minutes or so, especially if you're using a very thin layer, and then it will be ready, which is great. It means you don't have to wait 24 hours like I normally do when I use the foam clay. This is very much a similar texture to that, actually. It isn't my favourite version of the Sculpey, but it will do. I'm trying to use it up. I'm just going to use my finger to press that into a rough rectangle, and then I need to roll it out. I haven't got a small enough rolling pin, so I'm just going to use this silicone tool and try and get it a couple of millimeters thick. The thinner you can get this, the easier and the quicker it will cook. All right, that's not too bad. I'm going to make a straight edge, so I'm just going to use my craft knife to cut a little bit off, and then I've got something to line up to. All right, just smooth that down. Okay, I want this foil to be wrapped really tight. If I have gaps, it's just not going to stick. I'm going to lay this down, line it up against that edge, and then I want to wrap the clay around it, and I'm pulling it really tight and pressing it against that foil. Again, I don't want any gaps or bubbles because they will expand when this is heated up, and they could cause lumps in the final piece. So I'm just going to cut where that meets, and now I just need to blend this together and smooth everything out.
When the tide comes in low, we drag the line through foam. Boots on the planks go thud till the moon points us home. Salt on the coat, salt in the beard, hands all cracked from rope. Lift that crate, boys, lift it high. We're living on a hope. Hey now, hold that pull, easy on the strain. Hey now, set your feet, we're going out again. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it high. Hoist the rope and sing it proud. Sing it proud. One more pull and we're shoreward bound. With a laugh and a shout. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it loud. Hoist it loud. There's a lantern on the quay and a mug for every hand. A dented tin, a cracked old tune passing down the band. We've seen black water, seen white spray, seen the gulls.
I've trimmed the top and the bottom of the clay, and I'm just straightening those edges out, and I think that is about the right size that I need. I'm going to leave that foil there. I can trim that later. It's something I can hold on to at the moment. And now I'm just going to use this spatula to create an impression, and I'll use that as a doorway. So it's a kind of arched doorway, maybe a little bit fancy for a lighthouse, but okay. I also need a platform that I can put the light on, so I've got the bottle top from a needle nose bottle, and I'm just going to use that to mark a circle, and then I can use my craft knife to cut around that. It's going to be the perfect size to create that platform. So I'll just take the knife and cut around the outside edge. The bottle top itself was too blunt to actually cut it out, and I did want it to be the width of that whole top, not just the inside. That's why I'm cutting around the outside edge. All right, it's a little bit rough and ready, so I'm just going to try and smooth that out a little bit and take my fingers and get it as smooth as I can before I bake it, because it will bake in all of the marks. That's my platform. I'm going to bake all of these pieces together, but first I need to create the island that it's going to sit on. And I want a core of foil. So again, I'm using that same aluminium foil. I'm just going to squeeze this together to create the rough shape. And the beauty of it is that because this is a rocky island, I don't have to smooth anything out and be too precise. As crinkly as possible is better. I do need a flat platform for it to sit on though. I also want to make sure that it is tightly packed and I don't have any loose pieces, so I'm really pressing that together. All right, that looks like it will fit perfectly on there. So now I just need to cover this with the clay, and I'm going to smush that onto the surface, really pack it down and create some texture with my nails.
There's a lantern on the quay and a mug for every hand, a dented tin, a cracked old tune passing down the band. We've seen black water, seen white spray, seen the gulls cut through, but when the old crew starts to clap, there's nothing we can't do. Hey now, keep it tight, feel that timber groan. Hey now, one good swing and we're not alone. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it high. Hoist the rope and sing it proud. Sing it proud. One more pull and we're shoreward bound. With a laugh and a shout. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it loud.
Okay, so now I have my island. I've only put clay on the top of that foil. The base is still uncovered. They're all ready for baking, so I'm going to pop them in my crafting oven and I'm going to cook them according to the instructions on the packaging. The bowl is ready to demold, so let's have a look and see what I've got. Just release the suction by pulling the mould all the way around the outside. I can fold it back and take it out. It's not too hard to demold this, it's pretty supple. And I love this bowl. Every time I unmold it, I just love the shape of it. I've got some bubbles in there, but as this is meant to be water, I'm not going to worry. It actually hasn't gone through the outside. It's not a hole. The clay pieces are also ready. It's all cooked and cooled down. I'm going to slice the foil off the bottom so that I can create a flat platform that can sit on. So I'm just going to slice this through with my craft knife. It's actually cleaning and sharpening my craft knife at the same time, so bonus. There we go, just cut that off. I'm going to leave all of the foil in the side. There's no point trying to take it out and make this hollow. All right, that looks pretty good. I think the tower is a little bit too tall, so I'm going to cut through the clay and the foil. I need to create a flat top so that I can glue the platform on anyway. Even though the clay is hard, it isn't squishy or anything, it's still easy to slice through. So I'm just going to take that all the way off and flatten that top. That looks pretty good. I've got a little bit of loose clay on there. That's not a lump that's baked on. I'm happy with that. So now I have a flat top and bottom. I should be able to stand that up and then I can glue the platform piece on top. All right, it's a little bit wonky, but it's okay. It will work. I think I might put it that way up. Now, because it's a lighthouse, I am going to need a light. So I'm going to use this to make it. It's the pipette and I only want that round bit at the top. So I'm just going to slice some off. Maybe that length, that'll do. So I'll just snip through with my scissors and I'm going to be using some UV resin with this. So I'm going to need to get some gloves on. I think I'm going to add some of this glow-in-the-dark powder. This is Glow Cream from Marvelous. And this stuff is really strong. I have it on a couple of pieces that I've got in my bedroom. And once they're exposed to light, they shine all night. So I'm just going to mix that into my UV resin and we'll see how it goes. I'm going to start with a clear layer first. So using the Let's Resin UV resin, I'm just going to top this about a third of the way up, I think. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, about a third of the way. Just add a tiny bit more. And I want to set this layer first, but I want it to be nice and straight. So I'm trying to hold that as straight as I can. And I'm just going to use my torch to stop it from basically moving about. I want to create a skin over the top so that when I tip this sideways, it's not going to move around. All right, I've got a bubble in there, darn it. So let me see if I can pop that. It should just be below the surface. Oh, it's already set on the top. See if I can dig it out. Whoops, nope, that is making an even bigger bubble. Can I get into that? No. No, all I've done is create an even bigger bubble. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to invert that and I'll let that bubble rise up to the top and then I can deal with that afterwards if it creates a hole or something. I actually think it's probably stuck in the middle. I'll use my torch just to cure this and stop it moving. That looks pretty good. I'm going to pop this underneath my dual side lamp though to make sure. Now I can add another layer of UV resin. I'll cure that again with my torch to make sure it's nice and level. And now I can add the glow in the dark. So this is going to be a pretty thin layer, but as I say, this stuff is really strong. Right, just try and get that in the middle, make it nice and flat, and cure that. As soon as that UV light hits it, you can see that it is already starting to glow. So I'm hopeful I'll get some colour from it. All right, I'm going to pop this underneath my UV lamp to make sure that it's properly cured. And now I can try and remove it from the pipette. So I'm just going to snip down the seam, and then hopefully I can tear this. It's really soft plastic. Yeah, it's tearing easily. Right, now I have a domed piece. Yeah, that bubble is in the middle. It hasn't created a dip, so I don't need to fill it up. And I am going to be covering that end with paint, so that's okay. But I've got a little bit of a dip on this end, so I'm just going to try and flatten that out by adding a couple more drops of that glow-in-the-dark powder. Try and smooth that out a little bit. All right, let that settle. I've got a little bubble there. I'm hoping that'll pop itself. There you go. I just want to keep this level while I use my torch to set it. Okay, look at the glow. Well, it isn't perfectly straight, but I think it will be straight enough because the platform's not straight either. So this is going to sit on top. I'm going to paint the top section so you won't see that bubble, but you'll still see the glass and that glow. And I think that's going to look pretty cute. All right, I'm going to pop that underneath my UV lamp to cure properly. That's going to take a couple of minutes so I can stick this together while I'm waiting. I'm going to use a little bit of instant glue or super glue. So I'm just going to add some drops onto the top. Just make sure I've got that the right way up. Actually, if I put this down on the table, I can line this up a little better. Try and get that in the center. And because I've got a nice flat top there, if I just hold that in place for a couple of seconds, it should stick. Oh, not bad. I'm just going to press that together and make sure that that is all glued. It is pretty instant, as it says on the package, and that looks quite central. So I want to paint everything now before I stick anything else together, but that is going to sit on my rock, and I think that's going to look really cute. I'm going to be using acrylic paint markers from NicPro because they make my life so much easier. And as it's painting time, it's time for more music.
When the tide comes in low, we drag the line through foam. Boots on the planks go thud till the moon points us home. Salt on the coat, salt in the beard, hands all cracked from rope. Lift that crate, boys, lift it high. We're living on a hope. Hey now, hold that pull, easy on the strain. Hey now, set your feet, we're going out again. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it high. Hoist the rope and sing it proud. Sing it proud. One more pull and we're shoreward bound. With a laugh and a shout. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it loud. Hoist it loud. There's a lantern on the quay and a mug for every hand. A dented tin, a cracked old tune passing down the band. We've seen black water, seen white spray, seen the gulls cut through. But when the old crew starts to clap, there's nothing we can't do. Hey now, keep it tight, feel that timber groan. Hey now, one good swing and we're not alone. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it high. Hoist the rope and sing it proud. Sing it proud. One more pull and we're shoreward bound. With a laugh and a shout. Hoist the rope and sing it loud. Hoist it loud.
I changed the shape of the door a little bit and I've painted it blue, and now it's time to add this to the rock. So again, using that super glue, position it on that flat platform that I created, and I'm just going to hold that down and apply a little bit of pressure, and already it has stuck. That looks pretty cute. Now I can add the cap, put a blob of glue on. Whoops, that is quite a big blob. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put that down without dripping it everywhere, so yeah, let me just take some of that off, and then I can try and get that in the middle and apply a little bit of pressure. It needs a cap on the top, so I've got this rhinestone, which I think is the perfect colour and size. Whoops. And I'm just going to try and get that to stick in the middle. Looks like it's stuck to my glove. In fact, it's sticking to everything except the lighthouse. All right, there we go. Right, I need to leave all of that to dry, but that is pretty much ready. I will give this a coat of varnish, but not till I've got it in the bowl. The lighthouse is obviously going to be sitting in the middle of the sea, so I'm going to create that look with some of this aluminium foil. I'm just pushing this down into the bottom of the bowl and trying to mark the shape so that I know where I can cut it. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and just snip that round, try and follow that line so that it will fit into the bottom. Okay, push that back in. I've still got a little bit that I need to cut off, so again I'm just going to mark that shape and then I can snip off that excess. Okay, I want this to give me some texture, so I'm just going to crumple this up a little bit. I want to put the wrinkles in there, but I don't want it to remain wavy, so I'm going to flatten it against the table. I just want to get the shapes, not necessarily the depth. I'm just going to reshape that a little bit and make sure everything is squashed flat. That looks pretty good. Right, let's try that now. So that is nice and flat to the bottom, which means that I shouldn't have too many bubbles under it. I'm just going to snip that lump out, make that a little bit more round. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, I want to make sure that this is glued flat to the bottom because I'm going to be putting some resin on the top, and if I have any air underneath, that's just going to bubble up out of it. So I'm going to use some super glue to stick this down first. I'm just going to put that on the bottom of the bowl, and then I can put the foil in place, lay it down and smooth it out, make sure that that is pushed flat. Well, smooth it out is the wrong word. I don't want to get rid of that texture, I do want to keep it. I just want to make sure that it is well stuck down. All right, that is looking pretty good. So there might be a few bits around the edges that aren't stuck, but that's okay. The resin should be able to seep down and any bubbles will bubble up. Right, let me just try this in place. I just need to find the best place to put this so that it will sit flat. I'll figure that out. Let me go ahead, get some more resin mixed up, and then I can pour that in. I've mixed up 40 ml of the JDiction High Gloss, and I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that. So I don't really need very much. This is the sky blue that I put in the bowl. Get that mixed in. That's still a little pale, so I'm going to add some more, because especially when this is spread out on the bottom, it will look really pale. Okay, I'm going to pour that on top of the foil. Now I don't want this too thick, I just want to cover up that foil. If I have too much resin in the bottom, when I put the island on top, it'll move around and float about. Don't want to do that. Okay, and now I need to place this. That's pretty good. I'm going to push this down, try and push any air that might be underneath of it out. It looks pretty solid. It doesn't look like it's going to float or tip over. So I'm just watching it for a minute just to make sure that no more bubbles come out from underneath and that it doesn't rise up. Just need to add a little bit more resin. There are a couple of spots where the foil is sticking up, but it doesn't look like there are any bubbles coming out from underneath that, which is good. Just the island. I can see a little bubble that's stuck under that front part. All right, I don't know, I'm not liking that. I think it needs a little bit more blue in the ocean, but I don't know whether I want to use that dark blue or not, because I think that might be, even though I did use it in the bowl, it is a really dark colour. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to the sky blue. I'll just use a couple of drops of this, drop that directly on top of the resin. Come on, these bottles are very hard to squeeze. And then I can use my stick to stir that into the resin, just create some swirls. I think that's better already, a much better colour. It kind of looks like I've got some deep ocean and some shoreline now. Right, I'm trying not to cause too much of a wave because I don't want to get resin on top of the island. I'm going to be adding some varnish onto that in a little bit. But I just want to spread that colour around. All right, that looks a lot better. I'm going to need to leave that to set, and then I can come back and add a little bit of varnish onto the lighthouse and I'll be finished. I did think about leaving the rock unvarnished. I really like the look of it being matte, but in the end I've decided that I am just going to varnish the whole thing just to protect that acrylic paint, make sure that, you know, in future if I'm cleaning this it doesn't come off. And I think also it just looks better when it is varnished. So this is just an acrylic varnish. I'll give this a couple of coats all over, and that is pretty much it. I really like this. I don't know what it is about tiny little lighthouses, well, lighthouses in general. I just find them fascinating. I am going to get some photographs of this. I will leave you with the pictures. If you've liked this video, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe to my channel if you haven't. It's free and you can come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye.
When the tide comes in low, we drag the line through foam. Boots on the planks go thud till the moon points us home. Salt on the coat, salt in the beard, hands all cracked from rope. Lift that crate, boys, lift it high. We're living on